Well, good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to the Wacky World Lounge. And on this episode, we will be talking about some of my favorite conspiracy theories. Now, this will be a well-researched, well-presented, in-depth study. No, it won't be any of those things. It's just going to be me rambling about a couple of conspiracy theories that I like. So if you want good, solid detail and evidence, not here, pal. Not here. So number 5 on the list. And this is a brand new conspiracy theory that I just heard the other day and I thought was amazing. It really tickled my conspiracy fancy bone. And that is the Ice Bucket Challenge conspiracy. I'm sure you all remember the Ice Bucket Challenge from a few years back, all the cool kids were doing, which I guess it did some good apparently, so it raised a lot of money, so more power to them. But apparently there was a conspiracy going around started by some religious groups that the Ice Bucket Challenge for ALS was a satanic ritual. That's right. Apparently when you were pouring that water on yourself, you were baptizing yourself in the name of Satan. And that made me like the Ice Bucket Challenge even more. And apparently people who endorsed this Ice Bucket Challenge, like Lady Gaga and Bill Gates, satanic. Yeah, apparently totally satanic. Bill Gates and Lady Gaga want you to worship the devil. And all of you who did it, apparently you're baptized in Satan and you're all going to hell. Where do I stand on this particular conspiracy? Yeah, it sounds legit to me. Okay, number 4 on the list is an offshoot, sorta, a side note to a popular conspiracy theory that I always thought was kind of cool, but nothing I really looked into until I saw this particular amendment to said conspiracy theory. And that involves the Paul is dead conspiracy. And basically, any of you don't know, it was a theory that Paul from the Beatles died and that he'd been replaced by a lookalike. Basically, they had said that in early 1967, Paul had died in a car crash. It was after an argument with the band. He was speeding home, leaving, and he was decapitated, as it so happens. And in order to spare the fans the gruesome details that Paul no longer had a head, they replaced him with a lookalike from a Beatles lookalike contest. And the Beatles were kind of known for backmasking and strange lyrics and things of that nature. So this theory that that's what happened and that they were hinting around about it started popping up. In 1968, the song Glass Onion said, "Here's another clue for you all. The walrus was Paul." And obviously that means that Paul died. I mean, clearly anyone that can read and hear can tell that. But then the Abbey Road cover had Paul walking out of step with the band, and then the back of the Sgt. Pepper's album cover showed the entire band facing the viewer, except for Paul. And why would they do this, you may ask? Why would they send these hints, kind of trying to give away this conspiracy, this thing that they had done, this shady thing of hiding the headless Paul from everybody? Guilt. Yeah, supposedly they felt so bad that they had done this that they were trying to let folks figure it out. Rumors started spreading across college campuses. This was actually a big deal. It even spread the TV news and TV programs, and it was really starting to get some traction for a little bit there. Now, as to the aspect that really caught my attention, was later on it was theorized that it was not a lookalike that replaced Paul, but in fact a clone. As to where the Beatles got this clone from, well, they had Beatles money, so of course they can buy a clone. I mean, come on, all rich people have clones. So have you ever seen Madonna's daughter? I have a hard time believing that that's not just a little clone to Madonna, kind of Boba Fett, Jango Fett style. Anyway. And then the theory went on that all the members of the Beatles had ended up just slowly getting picked off one by one back then, and they were all replaced by clones. So kind of toward the end of the Beatles' career or whatever, they were all clones. It makes me wonder, though, if they were all clones, when John was initially killed, why didn't they just, maybe because the band had broken up? Really makes you think. So where do I stand on this? Again, sounds logical. Well, not the lookalike from the contest part, that's a little far-fetched for me, but the clones, Absolutely. Number 3 on the list is another one that's rather new to me, but I found it and it really tickled that conspiracy bone. And that's the Nazis in Antarctica. And basically, this one says, well, let's jump back a little. The Nazis were way ahead of the US and Russia in terms of rockets. There's theories floating about that they even made it to the moon as early as the 40s, like way, way back then. And so supposedly at the tail end of the war, the Russians ran across a top secret base in Berlin where they discovered not only a fully completed UFO flying saucer prototype, but also a half completed one as well, both with parts by BMW, of course. All the top German brands wanted to get in on this flying saucer technology. But it gets really interesting in the fact that the theories have started to even grow more so to the fact that the flying saucer technology, the reason they were so far ahead of everyone is they had help from aliens. Sure enough, the Germans, the Nazis, they met aliens, and the aliens are like, you know what, we like the cut of your jib, so we're going to help you out here. So what's that say about, what have I been saying about aliens for all these years? Movies like Fire in the Sky, they're trying to tell you something. Don't trust them. So towards the end of the war, the Nazis saw they were going to lose, I guess, and so they transported most of the good stuff to a secret base in Antarctica. And supposedly that secret base still operates to this day. And another theory claims that none of that was true, that they actually discovered all this alien technology in Antarctica. Apparently the Nazis were there in Antarctica looking around, doing what Nazis do in Antarctica, and they discovered all this alien stuff and they built the base around it. And supposedly that base is still there. So every flying saucer report, every UFO, every unexplained thing in the sky is just some jerk-faced Nazi taking a ride and not sharing their flying saucer technology. And where do I stand on this one? I don't particularly buy it, but I really enjoyed reading about it. And on that, I think we should take some kind of break.
Aren't you a monkey?
Yeah. Mickey Dolan.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to shake your hand.
Oh, surprise! Hey, Davey, want some mixed nuts? No, thanks, Mick. Oh. Hey, Mike, want some mixed nuts?
No, I don't like mixed nuts.
Oh.
Why don't you have them?
Oh, okay. Oh!
If you want both of these tricks,
For free! Send 15 Kool-Aid package tops.
to Monkey Business, Box 80, Bradley, Illinois.
We'll send you a buzz-out for free!
And a snake in a can.
For free!
And we're back. And number 2 on the list is one that's near and dear to my heart for many reasons, and that is the skunkape photo theory. Now, the skunkape, as you probably know, I would hope you know, is basically the mostly Florida equivalent of the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, and is known as the skunkape because, well, he smells. And reports of the skunk ape were particularly common in the 60s and 1970s. In 1974, sightings were reported in suburban neighborhoods of Dade County, Florida. In 1977, after a big rash of sightings and dozens of eyewitnesses across several Florida counties coming forward, they actually tried to pass a bill to the state legislature to make it illegal to, let me look at my notes, take, possess, harm, or molest anthropoids or humanoid animals. So obviously there was enough of, and this was real, they tried to get this passed. So obviously there was enough sightings and enough belief in the skunk ape that, I mean, it made it that far. Granted, it didn't pass, which I find that suspicious. Maybe that's another conspiracy in and of itself. And then in 1997, an entire tour bus of 30 to 40 people claimed to have seen a skunk ape, and they all told the exact same story. So there's a lot of proof out there that the skunk ape might exist. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about the photo from 2000. And I'm sure all you cryptid lovers out there have seen this photographic proof, very compelling proof of the skunk ape taken by an anonymous stranger. And the way this photo came about was it was sent along with a letter to the Sarasota Sheriff's Department. Basically, it was a woman claiming that this creature, as she said, she felt it was an escaped orangutan or an orangutan let loose from a zoo that was living in the swamps of Florida, and thus it had that smell. and it would come onto her back porch and steal apples. And so she got a dog, scared it away. That was the end of it. But in this letter, she expressed fear of this creature running around, possibly hurting her children, other people's children, and all the children getting hurt by this crazy thing running around the swamps. And that was kind of where it all came about. And the theory that the the skunk ape was actually just an orangutan who had escaped from a zoo or been let loose from a zoo. And so this is where it starts to get weird, and the conspiracy aspect of this. I personally feel that the photo itself, the whole thing, is a conspiracy to shine light away from the actual existence of the skunk ape. First off, the anonymous letter. Why would she send it anonymously? Like, why is it, if she was concerned that this creature, this escaped orangutan, was running around near her backyard and she was scared for her kids, why would she not tell the police department exactly who she was so they could come and take a look and see about catching this thing? See, that's very suspicious right there. And then the fact that this letter, this anonymous letter, and the photo leaked. So how did this suddenly leak? So what my take on it, and where do I stand on this? My take on it is basically just another cover-up, like with the chupacabra. Basically, some government official types like, well, we don't want folks knowing there's a skunk ape out there, so we're going to plant this story, make people just think it was an orangutan, a single one, and that would be the end of it. But we're on to you. Don't believe it. And as I said, as to where I stand, as I said, I think skunk ape is real. I think the photo may be real, but the story about it being an orangutan and stealing apples from the woman's porch, fake. And number one on the list, and this is a personal favorite of mine, so much so, I've already talked about it in another video, and that was my Elvis trivia video. But barely anyone watched that for some reason, so I'm going to talk about it again. But a real reason I want to talk about it again is because some new evidence has come to light that I wanted to add that I didn't have before. And this is all true. I've researched this thoroughly, looked into all this stuff, all this detail, all this proof that Elvis may still be alive. Whether you believe that's where it went, the details are there. You can look it up. But to reiterate the original case, in 1997, a doctor came forward claiming that he was Elvis's personal physician and that Elvis was alive. He'd been alive all this time, that he kind of pulled a Bubba Hotep, so to speak, and slipped up, faked his death, and that he was suffering from some kind of chronic pain. And Elvis all this time had been living under the name Jesse, which is interesting because any big Elvis fan knows that Jesse had a twin brother who was stillborn named Jesse Garon. And this story just kind of picked up and really started the snowball. A Fox News station picked up the story and really started promoting it, talking about it. And in this, Elvis claimed that he would be coming back in the year 2002. The same year, mind you, that Bubba Hotep came out. Coincidence? I think not. Well, clearly, it didn't happen. Elvis didn't pop back in 2002 for whatever reason. But the story continued on, and things kind of started escalating. A photograph of Jesse popped up. And sure enough, if this photo does not look exactly like what an aged Elvis would look like. I mean, come on, look at that. Or am I going to put it right here? Look at that. People claim it's Photoshop, but that early on, I don't think Photoshop was quite that good yet. I could be wrong, but that looks real. That looks real to me. I don't know. Where this story really gets interesting, and really the meatiest of the proof, and what really makes a lot of people believe, is this Jesse character took 2 DNA tests, and these 2 were matched up with 2 different direct relatives of Elvis. And you know what? He was a 100% match as a relation. Whoever this guy was, it was absolutely a fact that he was related to Elvis's relative. So this guy was a relative. Regardless how you feel about it, it is fact that he was related to Elvis in some form or fashion. But then, not long after this, Jesse disappeared again. So where has Jesse gone? And then other theories around the theory have started to circulate that maybe Jesse wasn't actually Elvis, that he was actually Jesse, Elvis's supposedly stillborn twin, who had not been stillborn, that he'd been raised in secret in order to someday take Elvis's place for some reason, because I guess they had some kind of psychic know-how that knew that Elvis would be like the coolest, most famousest person ever. Don't know. I don't know anything about that. But the fact that Jesse matched the DNA of Elvis's relatives says that he was a relative. So that right there. Where do I stand on it? You know, I believe it. I'm about 90% sure Elvis is out there. Hopefully he's watching this video going, Sterling, I like the cut of your jib. And that's all the time we have for this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, and keep it wacky.
Wow.